Hello everyone, so this is ride number 2 for the Turkey Trot Challenge by Fox Run Farm. And for today's session, I decided to set up a whole obstacle pattern to work Gemini through. It's been a little bit, I think, over a year since I've done an obstacle pattern with him, and I really find these to be really fun and an excellent way to get your horse focusing on you. You can work on individual skill sets in a safe enclosed area like the arena before you try them out on a trail. Or if you don't really have access to a trail, these are some great obstacles to work through to just practice a lot of really important skill sets for the horse. And it's also just something different too, so it keeps your horse entertained. So you notice I'm walking Gemini through all the obstacles on the ground first. It's a really good idea to get your horse used to them on the ground before you mount up, especially if you have a horse that is kind of reactive, new to obstacle patterns, or maybe a little bit spooky. And then here I am mounting up. And one trick I always like to make sure I'm doing with my horses is once I get on, I am still and do not allow my horse to walk off for a few minutes. Now, what's interesting is Gemini actually takes a step here forward, and he doesn't usually do that. I didn't give him the cue to walk on, so I stop him. And then he actually tries it again. He's like, okay, let's go. And he starts walking, and I'm like, no. I'm going to ask you to back up and get you back up to where we started from at the mounting block, and we're going to stand still. A lot of people have horses that will move at the mounting block or will automatically walk off once you get on them. That's a really unsafe habit that we want to not have our horses do. So one thing you can do to reinforce that the mounting block is a place of stillness and being quiet is just once you get on, be still for a few minutes and don't let them walk off. And then here we are walking. Okay, so this is an exercise that Julie Goodnight actually taught me. And when you have a horse, especially a really spooky horse, and they're being introduced to something that might spook them or is new to them, we're going to play a little bravery game where you're going to walk your horse up to the object facing it, and then you're going to stop them and give them a clear cue for them to listen to you. Once they stop, you're going to praise them, and they're just going to look at the object. Don't let them look sideways, so keep their head straight looking at it. Then you're going to let them take a few steps forward, stop them again, take a few steps forward, stop them again until you are closer and closer to the object. The goal of this bravery game is to get your horse from thinking on a really reactive, nervous side of their brain to a more interested, curious side of their brain. And so this exercise really helps to promote your horse to be brave and to be more curious about objects that are unfamiliar to them than being nervous, reactive, and wanting to flee from the object that they're nervous about. And the ultimate goal of this bravery game is once they get closer to the object, they have won the game when they touch it with their nose. And you give them a lot of praise. Julie Goodnight taught that, and it has been a game changer for me and Gemini. And then we walk around the barrel. He's feeling less tense about the flag. I thought it was funny, you guys, because as I was filming this, 2 police cars drove by, and I was just like giving my little wave to them. I always wave at everyone. I'm like, hello, I don't know why you're here, but hello. And then we changed directions. Now I'm taking Gemini through all of the obstacles at random just to get him used to going through them at the walk and just kind of getting accustomed to how all these work. Here we are working on picking up the flag, and I could feel he was a little bit tense under me, and he was a little bit nervous about the flag, so I just gently picked it up and held it really low at my left leg. It's really important when you're working with an object that is, new to your horse, and they might feel a little bit tense about it when you're desensitizing them to it. You don't want to have super high energy. So if I were to pick up that flag and be really tense and pick it up really fast and have a lot of nervous energy, my horse is going to react to that because they read your energy. They are prey animals. So once I pick up the flag, I'm keeping it nice and low, making sure I'm breathing and that I am calm. And you can see Gemini's looking sideways to try to get a better look at that flag. And I'm using my left inside leg on his side. In case he were to spook and jump sideways, I'd have some support for him and wouldn't have to worry about him, kind of running sideways. But he does pretty well, and he does calm down a little bit about it. He gets used to it more, and then we work on putting it back in the little bucket there. And then now we're going to back through our ground poles that are in this L shape. So this is a great exercise because when you ask a horse to back up, it really makes them focus on what they are doing. And backing up is actually fairly hard for the horse. Horses do not think about where their hind legs are going. So when you ask them to back up, it really makes them focus on what they're doing. And so we actually back through the poles without touching them and staying within that L shape. That was our goal. He gets lots of praise for that. It's been a while since we've done that. And I point down because he was licking and chewing, which is a sign that he understands what I was asking him. Then we move into our trot for the warm-up, and I'm doing posting trot because it's a great rider's position to keep the weight off the horse's back so they can really stretch out and be comfortable at the trot for the warm-up. And then I ask him for walk here. He gives me a really nice downwards transition, so he gets lots of praise for that. Always praise your horse. Now this is funny, my arena goes downhill a little bit here, so Gemini goes a little bit faster, and then he tries to pick up the canter, and I didn't ask him to do that. So I redirect his feet and ask him to do a little circle here to focus on me and kind of to calm himself down a little bit, and he does wind down from that. A lot of times you'll have a horse speed up when they're going downhill if they feel overall unbalanced, because it's a lot easier for them to, just speed up than it is to slow down and really use themselves to carry both themselves and you. And then as we go down here, he actually speeds up a little bit at the trot, but he didn't try to break into canter, which I appreciated, so I gave him lots of praise for that improvement. And then here we are holding the flag, waving it around. We got to this point where he wasn't feeling tense about it, so we just did a bunch of circles, moving around. I made sure to hold the flag in both hands and move it around, so we were making sure that he was comfortable with the flag moving around on both sides of his body. Here we are walking through the obstacle pattern that I made up in my head. So the first thing we do is we have a halt, and then we walk down towards our row of cones, and then we're going to weave through the cones. And as I'm weaving, as I'm doing this whole obstacle course, my goal is to use my seat and my leg mainly to move my horse through the pattern. I'm really not trying to use my reins to communicate that. We want to be as light as we can with cueing our horse, and that means using our seat and our leg first before we ask with our reins. We weave the cones back. And then from here, the next obstacle is to go over the tarp. When I first got Gemini as a new 3-year-old, he was pretty nervous about doing any tarp work, and now we have really mastered that, and he can go over any tarp anywhere and has no problems. So we walk straight over our tarp. He does a great job there. And then we head down to that blue barrel, and we're just going to turn around it. So I'm going to ask for some bend with my left inside leg to bend his rib cage, lightly use my left inside rein to tip his nose into the turn. Walk through our ground poles. Really making sure I'm looking where I want my horse to go. And then I'm going to ask him to halt here. He's not as straight as I'd like him to be, so I straightened him out a little bit more here. He thought I was asking him to flex, but we got him a little bit straighter. And then I start asking him to back up, so I'm just gently picking up my reins. I'm not pulling, I'm picking them up and then tapping with my legs. That's how I've taught my horses to back up. Just tapping, and then here we're going to do a turn around the forehand, asking his hindquarters to move over. slightly behind the cinch. I'm asking his butt to move over so we can make the turn, and then asking him to back up again here. And he does that really nicely. Lots of praise. Ask him to walk through again and move on to our next one, which is going to be the barrel in the far corner. We're going to ride up to that barrel, grab that flag, and then I'm going to ask him for trot. Reach over with my right hand, grab the flag, ask him for trot. He gives me a lovely little floaty trot here as we go down the wall. And then once we get past that blue barrel, I will be asking him to halt and back up. And I kind of exaggerate my seat here a little bit when I ask for the halt, a little bit too much, but that's okay, because he was trying to keep on trotting, and I was like trying to reinforce, hey, I want you to stop. Ask him to back up 4 or 5 steps, and then lots of praise because he did a really good job. And this is just a funny little blip that happened. So here we are kind of practicing grabbing the flag at a trot for fun, and he started to canter. It was so funny. He actually picked up the incorrect lead. So I asked him to slow down to trot, and he listened, and I was like, hey, I did not ask that of you. Let's do a little circle here and focus on what I'm asking. And sure enough, he comes back down to me really, really nicely here, and I can feel him listening. After we slowed down, did some slower work, I decided to canter him a few circles. He's kind of one of those horses where once he canters a few circles, he gets tired. He would rather walk and trot all day than he would rather canter. But sometimes he just wants to just do a little bit, and then he's good. So I asked him to halt, and that was really nice. Asked him to back up, and then my older sister actually came down to film this portion, so you guys could see a closer video, a closer view of what we were doing. So here we are doing the whole pattern. And so we start with a halt, walk down to our cones, and really focusing on looking where I would like to go as I weave through the cones. I love when people film me because I'm able to see things that I can work on as well, not just my horse. So one thing that I can always work on is not having as much of a active seat. It's really good to absorb what our horse's body is doing with our seat, but sometimes I try to exaggerate that motion too much because I'm almost like trying to speed up my horse because he can be pretty slow sometimes. But instead, it would be better if instead of moving my seat quite as much, I use some more leg. And then here we are walking over the tarp. He did such a good job with that. It's so funny to think how I used to be so nervous about going over the tarp. And then here we are making our turn around the blue barrel. Asking with my left inside leg, a little bit of my left inside rein too. And then we're going to head for our L-shaped ground pole thing over there. We're going to walk through it. And I wanted to include a little blip that happened where the 4th time, I think this was, of us going through our ground poles backing up, he actually ended up hitting one of the ground poles with his hooves. But I want to show you guys what that kind of looked like because I don't want you just to see of all the good clips of how everything went perfect, you know? So here we are backing up. I asked his hindquarters to step over to the left a little bit too late. And then here, see, he taps it with his back right. And that was just me not correctly asking at the correct timing to get him to move over. So then we walk through again, and we're gonna try again to see if I can get him to go through it without tapping it with one of his hooves. And then see, I asked him a little bit sooner than I had before to move over, which was a lot better. I'm asking with my right leg again, move that hindquarters over. He does that really nicely, and he's actually pretty straight too as he's backing up. So lots of praise for that. I was really happy. And then we walked through again and moved on to our next obstacle. It is so fun to have a horse that you got when they were a lot younger, and then when you train them yourself and you get to teach them all these things, it is such a gratifying experience, and it makes me so proud and so happy because Gemini is such a wonderful horse, and I really love him, and I'm just so proud of him. And so here we are doing our little trot, waving our flag, and his little ears are forward. He looks so cute. There's a random chicken in the way, which we were both laughing at. But no chickens were harmed, I promise. And then we're gonna ask for that halt right about here. He kind of kept going when I asked him for the halt, so I gently pulled back with my left reins with my reins, asked him to back up a few steps. That was pretty good too. At this point, he was a little bit tired as well. And then lots of praise because he did such a good job. And that was ride number 2 for the Turkey Trot Challenge. This challenge is hosted by Fox Run Farm. If you're not familiar with them, you need to check out both their website and the link to their Facebook page, which will be in the description box below. They host really fun challenges that I think a lot of riders and horses would really benefit from being a part of. I also think you should try setting up an obstacle pattern for you and your horse to go through. You're really going to learn a lot together, and it just keeps things fun and interesting if you're looking for something new to try. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you can see our 8 other riding sessions that we'll be posting here. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!